Howdy, fellow, and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at John chapter 4, but just verse 20 today. Here's our rubric, everything we look for as we go through the text. Let's go ahead and get started. Hoi patres hemon en toi ore tutoi pros ekuneson kai humes legete hote en Jerusalemmos estin hotopos hopu pros kunen dei. That's as far as we're going to make it. Right off the bat, we have hoi from hoheto, is clearly a nominative plural masculine with pateres. So that's going to be our subject. We still need to find a verb. Okay, nope. And here we go with pros ekuneson. We have alpha nu right there for a third person plural to match our subject. And since we have the eta sigma off of this stem, we know that it's going to be an aorist or a future tense. Since we have the epsilon right there between our prefix and the actual heart of the verb, we know that this has to be aorist instead of future. And is of course active. And I put 2 commas there, sorry about that. And indicative. And this one, normally it's going to be translated as worship, but it's the heart of its meaning, if you will, is to, what is it? It's like to kiss. The real idea is from, I think we get this verb originally from Herodotus, talking about the Persians and the emperor worship. And when someone would proskuneo to the emperor, it would be, you would have one foot forward and you'd bow at the waist and then bring one hand up and kiss the tips of your fingers at the emperor. And that's what proskinesis was. That's the action. And it does mean to worship someone as a deity. So, quick bit of history. Now, we've probably run into this, which means I've probably told you that multiple times. I have no memory for these things. Moving on. So, we've got our verb there. Subject. All right. Hemon. Here we have omega nu for a genitive plural. And this is going to be of the second person plural pronoun. So, our fathers. And prepositional phrase, clearly taking the dative here. And this is going to be singular, and the noun itself, ore, is neuter, the third declension. Tuto goes with that. Okay, so then our first clause is our fathers worship, which is not spelled with an S, in this mountain. Okay, and I'm trying to think of what mountain this is. Might be Mount Moriah. I don't remember, but if you have Bible with a map in the front, it will probably show you the locations. This could, I suppose, be a mountain in the region of Dan, where Jeroboam set up a altar. But I don't know which one she's specifically talking about here. So, colon, chi, and humes, epsilon, iota, sigma, are the normal ending that we see with this third, not this third. That's the first person, and that's the second. Sorry about that. Nominative, plural, and you, since we don't need humes with the second person already in legete, plural present, active, and indicative. So then this means that this is emphatic, so you, yourselves, say, hoti, that. Okay, here is our verb estin. We've seen this many times before, no need to parse it with our movable nu right there. In, here we have Jerusalemmos, so we have omicron iota sigma there for a dative and plural. And I can never remember the gender of Jerusalem. But I wanted to say that it is probably neuter, which I think is what I said last time we ran into it. And I feel as though I was wrong. So I'm going to leave that blank. Again, our prepositional phrase ends right there. So that in Jerusalem is ho topos, omicron sigma right there. This is going to be a nominative, singular, and masculine as the predicate of Jerusalem, not of Jerusalem, but the location linked with Estin, the place. Hopu is just a word that shows us location, so it's adverb, I think it. Where, proskunein day. Here is our verb, epsilon iota for a third person singular present tense. It is active and it is indicative. And this one is a impersonal verb. Now, you got to be careful with it because there's a very similar verb. You've got deo, and then I think the other one is deomai. And for the active form one, it means it is necessary. But then for the passive form one, I believe it means like to tie up, to bind up. And if you go back far enough in Greek, deomai it's spelled slightly differently, or the accent falls on a different vowel in some way. And so they appear even more similar, so some dictionaries will not help the unwary Greekling. So it is necessary, and this takes an infinitive as its object, which we find right there, proskuneo. So since we've got the circumflex right there, we know that this is a contract, and it's just epsilon iota nu, which in turn comes from, I believe, 2 epsilons. We've talked about that before, so I won't go into it again, but this is just a present active infinitive where it is necessary or proper, maybe, to worship. Okay. It looks like at the beginning of 21, Jesus starts speaking, so I'm going to close the quotes here. And let's take a look at this in its own context, and then from verse 7. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and you yourselves say that in Jerusalem is the place where it is necessary to worship. That makes sense. That's good. 7. A woman comes from Samaria to draw water. Then Jesus says to her, "Give to me to drink," for his disciples had gone into the city in order to buy victuals. She says therefore to him, the Samaritan woman, "How do you, being a Jew, ask from me to drink, although I am a Samaritan?" For Jews do not have dealings with Samaritans. Jesus answered and said to her, "If you had known the gift of the God and who it is, the one saying to you, 'Give to me to drink,' you would demand of him, and he would give to you living water." The woman says to him, "Lord, you do not indeed have a bucket, and the pit is deep. From where, therefore, do you have the water, the living water? Surely you are not greater than our father Jacob, who gave to us the pit, and he drank from it, and his sons and his domesticated animals." Jesus answered and said to her, "Everyone who drinks from this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks from the water which I myself will give to him will by no means thirst forever. But the water which I will give to him will be in him a spring of welling up water into life eternal." The woman says to him, "Lord, give this water to me in order that I may not thirst and not pass through hither to draw." He says to her, "Go call your husband and come back here." The woman replied and said to him, "I do not have husband." Jesus says to her, "You said well that I do not have husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and now whom you have is not your husband. You have said this truly." The woman says to him, quote marks, "Lord, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and you yourselves say that in Jerusalem is the place where it is necessary to worship." Very interesting change on her part there. Well, thank you very much for joining me. I hope taking a look at this has been helpful for you, and I hope that you have a very good day. Wale, which is actually how I end the Latin videos. Farewell. There we go. Gotta keep to English, you know?
What? You're still awake? Why are you still here then? You should be reading a book. Or if not reading, you should watch one of these other videos. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. See you next week.